Virgo rising. How you doing, Virgo? So this is your reading for the Taurus full moon that is happening on the 15th or the 16th of November, depending on which part of the planet you live on. My name's Chloe. I work with card divination, astrology, and I channel multidimensional energies through my body, both in the form of physical and vocal light language. And this is going to be happening throughout the reading. It might sound a bit weird, but it's bringing in healing, attunement, and activation codes to the messages that come through in this reading. There you go. So this is a full moon in Taurus, and it's conjunct Uranus and a fixed star called Algol. Now, this is kind of wild, right? So it's very sudden shifts in the Taurus area of your chart that are serving a deeper liberation of the physical senses, right? Taurus is the first earth sign. It's your personal connection to your body, to your 3D environment. And so Algol is linked into the mythology around Medusa. And it's often like off with your head energy or losing your head. That can be literal as well as figurative. I talk about a certain political incident that happened when a certain energy had their ear scratched, which is very much linked in to the degree that this is at and being conjunct Algol. So I talk about that in the collective reading. If you want to go check that out, that's where I break down the astrology of this moon in way more detail and pull some tarot of what's the highest and most integrated intention of this lunation. It acts as a baseline for the all 12 sign series. So if you feel so inclined, go check that out. But in general, like that Algol energy of like losing one's head, right? Releasing things that have limited us. It's also about distorted narratives, because Medusa was deemed to be a monster, but there were certain reasons why she headed down that path, and there's just a lot of controversy around the greater mythology. I mean, it was ancient Greece, and they weren't the biggest fan of women. I'm more a big fan, certainly in the mythology, of non-consensual actions. Anyway, that's all about distorted narratives. And so with this full moon in Taurus, where the moon is exalted, right? She's raised up high in the sign of Venus. All her qualities are just feeling really good. Needs being met, this sense of nourishment, being in emotional flow, feeling comfortable, feeling abundant. Conjunct Uranus, which is, your path liberator, the breaker of chains. It wants you to walk your path, your soul's path. Wants you to be confident doing so and not worry about what everybody else is doing. And it can bring about sudden eureka moments, sudden changes that are liberating, but might feel a little bit disruptive, because it can feel like things are being flipped over and shifted and changed in quite a sudden way. And we have that with Algol and the moon in the sign of Taurus, which is, as I said, the overall message really is of releasing perspectives, ideas of the mind, right, the head, limiting beliefs that have blocked us from truly embodying in our physicality. Like really the embodiment of something is kind of like one of the highest levels you can get to, of like, rather than the mind, of thinking it, and then the emotions, which can be a bit transitory, when it's just naturally in your body. That's when we know we've done a lot of the integration work. And so what's being released here, what's being activated, is a higher perspective that allows us to tap into the abundant nature of reality of this and enjoy our 3D existence. And that's the Taurus Venus energy showing up. Now Virgo, this is in a fellow earth sign. So wherever Virgo falls in your chart, this is trining your energy. A trine is an aspect of Jupiter. It brings about wisdom, elevation, integration, a deeper sense of knowing, a sense of faith. And with that comes more ease, more flow. There's a sense of opportunities and abundance, the generosity of spirit of that Jupiterian energy in this aspect. You're a very easy transfer of information, because you're both earth signs, you're both yin in nature. You've got the two baseline qualities in common with one another. Obviously, Taurus is fixed and and you are mutable. So it's about working together with fixed energy and allowing that mutable energy to adapt and change what isn't serving the fixed energy anymore. So I read for the rising signs. So for those of you who don't have Virgo in the first house, look to the house that it does fall in your natal chart. Look to the themes of that house, and you want to apply those themes along with all the other meaning you've got going on in the sign of Virgo. I have my sun there, so if I was listening to this as myself, I'd bring in the themes of my sun and the second house, because it will be as if that Virgo energy, wherever it falls in your natal chart, has now energetically moved to the first house. So when I break down the astrology for the rising sign, it will always still link in. You just got to add on your own natal chart meaning on top of it. So for Virgo risings, where is this happening? Well, it's happening in your 9th house. This is the house of the gods. This is your perspectives, your morals, your ethics, your philosophies, your connection to book, religion, source, nature, science, all those matrices that are bigger than you, that you know you're a part of, and figuring your way out through them. How do you map yourself out in it? What are your preferences in terms of your perspectives? And then we have sort of teaching, mastery of learning something and teaching, and that's all about sharing perspectives, right? We're not here to change people's minds. That's up to them. It's also linked into long distance travel or just generally living somewhere for a longish period of time that is unfamiliar to you. Why? To broaden your perspectives. And so you have this beautiful full moon happening here in regards to, with this full moon just in general, if we just take out the Algol and Uranus energy, but we really can't. Is with full moons we get both sides of the same coin. We often find that we're then releasing. Let me break down the cards actually, because that will give a clarity around the full moon. So the first pile for this is, as I was about to say, we often get two sides of the same coin with any transit. We have the shadow aspect, or certain things that are part of old paradigms that we're then here to work through and release. And that's part one. That's pile one of what's being released with this full moon, because full moons do mark completion. They make a closing out of a particular part of a cycle. And there's with a full moon, we can also get triggered as well. But overall, pile one is what's being released that you've been working on since the new moon in Taurus. There's perhaps more of the shadow aspect or the unintegrated parts of self that you've been doing the work on, struggles, challenges, blocks. So that's pile one. Pile two is what's being integrated, right? With all the work you've done. What's the wisdom? What's the upgrade that that's being fully integrated into your vessel? That is pile two. And then pile three, I work with 6-month cycles. So the energy that comes through in this reading is going to serve you until the new moon in Taurus, because even though this is a full moon and it does mark an element of completion, with that it then activates a new cycle that takes us to the new moon. So with everything that we've learned, everything that we've integrated, what activation, and then you combine it with the astrology, right? And so this is why I like the collective reading, because I really expand on what are all the celestial bodies doing, how are they talking to each other, what would that mean in terms of like an energy download, and then how to work with it over the next 6 months. So as I said, if you want a deeper understanding, go check that out. But pile three is the activation, the download code that you're getting around the full moon that you'll then be working with over the next 6 months. And pile four is how to work with it, how to be in alignment with it, how to activate it, and facilitate this particular journey. I'm going to be pulling some oracle cards as well from my 2 favorite decks at the moment, as well as potentially, it all depends if I'm called to do so or if there's time, pull some cards on Uranus itself, right? What is that Uranian energy up to specifically with this full moon? And some cards with Saturn for Saturn, because a couple of hours before this full moon, Saturn is going direct. I'm going to talk more about that later. So full moon in the ninth, love a ninth house transit. This is a real elevation of your understanding of your place on this planet, in the universe, pulling away of limiting beliefs that have blocked you from connecting, as I said, to those physical senses, to feeling good. The ninth house can often get a bit of a bashing because of everything that's going on in the world, right? Totally understandable. And then we can go to the collective energy a little too much. I'm not saying don't do that, like in general, but when we really focus on those big, on what's going on in the world, right? It's all kind of chaotic. It's all difficult. It's a very challenging time that we're in, but I would think most generations would say the same. But it can mean we can then forget to slow down and step back into our reality and our perspectives in our smaller reality. Taurus is very much linked into slowing down and smelling the roses. It's the slowest sign in the zodiac. It's fixed earth. It's the bull. Bulls take their time, but they get where they need to get to. Fixed signs can be a bit stubborn as well. So I say that as most of my charts fixed. So there's an element of, especially with this Uranus and Algol energy, of anything that's like really deep rooted and fixed and stubborn in its nature in the way that you perceive, that just genuinely doesn't serve where you're at anymore, right? Conditioning and all that stuff. I can definitely see a lot of shifts and changes happening around this full moon in regards to that. A real sense of rebirth. Now, I picked up on this in the Gemini reading that I'd forgotten to mention in the collective reading, is there's an astrological aspect that's being formed with this moon, with the sun and the moon, Pluto and Neptune. And this is called a cradle. And I'm kind of annoyed that I forgot to say it in the collective reading, but I will bring it into the oracle reading, which always happens after the all 12 sign series. Ooh, that's what's at the bottom of the deck. I'm going to shuffle the Uranus and Saturn ones now. That we are being birthed with this full moon, and I think the essence of that, what that means, came through in the collective reading. But I'm a little frustrated at myself that I didn't clock it. So there is this element of release going on, that is taking us further forward into the embodiment of the magical reality, which is not about scarcity, not about distorted conflict. Sometimes conflict really serves us, not about the fear state, and really allowing us to feel it in our senses. One of the major themes that came through, I think I mentioned already, in the collective tarot, mostly swords. And that ties in with some other astrology that I'm going to bring in. That our senses, our physical senses, can often be distorted in where they see trauma, where they see fear, where they see a difficult situation based on previous experiences, rather than being neutral and going into something with an open heart and an open mind. And I definitely see this full moon helping us reorientate our physical body to a place of true reality rather than assumptions and expectations. So what else is going on? Well, as I said, so the Uranian algal energy can see liberation of old ideas and eureka moments and activations of the truth. That particular energy is linked more into code, sacred geometry, like kind of like the fundamentals of the universe there. What else is going on? So, as I said, the sun and the moon well, let's say where the sun is actually. The sun's over in Scorpio, and this is in the house of the goddess, where we bring our big picture philosophies of the ninth house, the house of the gods, into our day to day. That's the core energy of the third house of the, you know, what really activates it is finding the meaning in the little things, in the washing up, in the walk to the shop, in the small chit chat that you have in that shop. The kind of more mundane things that we kind of take for granted or feel a bit frustrated because they don't have the high octane energy of as other aspects of our lives. But the more that we resonate, the more that we find that deeper meaning in those little things, the more that impacts everything else. It's just phenomenal. So it's your local community, it's your environment. It is the lens in which you communicate through. So there's that sharpness, that sort of putting the truth on the table kind of energy in the way that you communicate, Virgo. It is your environmental frequency. It's learning things for the first time in short distance trips. So the sun has been there. You may have had a more focal point and vision of what do you want your local community to be, how are you connecting to your day to day, and how do you communicate, right? So there's a real, you may have got a lot of downloads, a lot of vision quest energy, with the sun being in the third. But overall, just feeling a bit more vibrant, a bit more energetic when you're out and about in your local community, and sort of the regular mundane things of like the washing up and the ironing, that sort of thing. And finding a clearer vision around how you find meaning there. So the sun and the moon are making aspects to Pluto and Ceres over in Capricorn, which is your fifth house of your creation energy, your pleasure, your joy, your play, children, both literal and figurative children, such as your inner child, romance and dating. So Pluto is going to be moving into Aquarius on the 19th of November, so we don't have it for very long. Ceres represents the great grain mother, the earth mother, the harvest, the bounty, nutrients and nurturing. And they are also making aspects to Neptune over in Pisces, which is your seventh house of one-on-one relationships. This can be business partners, clients, intimate friends, long-term committed romantic relationships, as well as your relationship with Source. All of those one-on-one important relationships that we often find ourselves in a high level of commitment to. Now, this combination with Uranus, between Pluto, Neptune and Uranus, I talk about in the Pluto in Capricorn oracle reading. Which, even though Pluto is changing signs soon, the energy and what I talked about there is quite phenomenal, and it's impacting all of us. So they're all these outer planets are making harmonious aspects with one another, and the themes of that are embedded in this full moon. And this is really a collective archetypal shift in consciousness around the true reality and the power of our ability to work with it that serves our soul's path. And at the moment, they're all in yin signs, right? Earth and water. There's a grounding, stabilizing, cultivating, nurturing energy to this new frequency. And then all of them are gonna, next year, are gonna move into yang signs. Neptune will dip back into Pisces for a little bit and then be back into Aries, but overall we're moving from that yin, that sort of bed of creation energy, and all into yang when we take action and go. So this moon is in alignment with that, which is why this birthing of ourselves is quite powerful. So in regards for you, Virgo, this is a rebirthing around creativity and joy, your relationship with Source, your relationship with intimacy and connection and commitment, around your perspectives in the way that you communicate. So I can see a deeper resonance of your capacity to bring these together, bring this into alignment and really fuel creativity, and establish healthier dynamics with the other in regards to the self. That Neptune energy is dissolving the illusion that we do not live in a magical reality, right? And really allowing us to connect more deeply with the oh, that's also at the bottom of the deck. I'm going to keep that one as well because that one's cool. What do I want to say about this? It's just the capacity to connect in ways that are without boundaries, without losing your sense of self. That are really supporting this sense of abundance in your physical vessel, right? And it doesn't really matter how those relationships show up. You're showing up in a way that's very open without being distorted, right? That Pluto series energy, I'm really enjoying it, although you may have felt in the lead up to this moon fears, a lot of fears come up around abundance, around the harvest, around whether you're safe and secure. But overall, that Pluto series energy is very much about finding resources, finding abundance, finding a deep level of nutrition and nourishment from your creation energy. Now, for some of you, this may be about creative outlets, this may be about your relationship with your children, this may be about a romantic relationship, right? Because we do have the 5th and the 7th activated, and I don't always focus on romance just because not everybody's out there looking for it. But with these 2 houses, along with your perspectives and the way that you communicate, I can just see a really elevated and elevated connection with others that are in alignment with these perspectives and a really healthy way of communicating with each other. Again, that can be with source as well. So we have this very powerful outer alignment, making aspects, positive aspects, free-flowing, harmonious aspects to both the sun and the moon. Now, we want to look to where Venus is, because Venus rules Taurus, and so therefore Venus is influencing this moon, and she's over in the sign of Capricorn, quite far away from Pluto and Ceres, but they're all still in the same sign. They're in the same house for you, which is your creation energy. And guess what? Venus loves being in the 5th. It's her favorite place to be. Obviously, creation, joy, pleasure, all of those things. And so you've got a real boost at the moment of your creation energy going on, right? Sometimes this can see you doing a lot more games, a lot more play, a lot more sort of needing hyper stimulation. But it is Capricorn, so there is this sense of longevity, this sense of play hard, work hard, coming through, of you really connecting the dots and finding more wisdom and flow with your creation energy. Now, the reason why I say wisdom is because Capricorn's ruled by Saturn, and Saturn, as I said, has just gone direct and is over in, along with Neptune, in your 7th house. And Saturn is very mature. There's a sense of responsibility, of duty, of authority and commitment to your legacy. And it's been retrograde, so we've had summertime sadness a little bit with that Saturn retrograde, because we've been reevaluating and cultivating all of those themes that I've just said internally, and that can often mean a lot of boundaries, a lot of resistance, a lot of isolation and separation in order to get to that deeper level of maturity. And now Saturn is going direct. And so for you, this is connected to the themes of the 7th. So you may have just felt quite, Saturn through the 7th can often see other people being very authoritarian, as well as you perhaps being quite restricted and limited into your expectations and your desires that may just be a little bit too strong in terms of allowing openness and connection to come through with that Saturn transit. And those are just some aspects. What it really is doing is elevating a level of maturity of how you interact with the other, elevating a level of commitment that isn't diminishing your path and where you're headed, right? Pisces is very boundarylessness, I'm not going to get that. That it is without boundaries, and so that can feel quite overwhelming when it's in the 7th house of how you connect and how relationships might be. Saturn's giving strength and giving a level of, I think I did in the first Saturn in Pisces transit, talked about how Saturn is acting in the ocean like buoys, like that are floating over the ocean, that is just giving you places of solidity, where you're feeling more in your power. So everything that you've been sort of revisiting and cultivating and bringing deeper nuance to you with the retrograde, you're now going to see more momentum going forwards with that. With this direct motion. And so, depending on where you live on the planet, from the Americas to, I think it's around Eastern Europe, it's Venus's day, it'll be Friday's day, and the other half of the planet, Saturn's day. So we've got this combination, both astrologically in the chart and on the days that this is happening, between Venus and Saturn. So there's a level of wisdom, there's a level of maturity coming in around relationships and right relationship with self, right relationship with others. The last moon in Scorpio was also on a Friday, so we're getting doubling down on this Venusian energy here in regards to how do we bring creativity, love, connection, and that relationship, as I said, with yourself, with others, with source, whatever it is there's getting an elevation here, a level of maturity here, and a level of commitment. Now, Pisces is traditionally ruled by Jupiter. So we want to look to where Jupiter is, because Jupiter's influencing Saturn and therefore influencing Pisces. Venus, and therefore the moon. And Jupiter's over in Gemini. Now, Gemini, ruled by Mercury, you are also ruled by Mercury, Virgo. And Mercury's over in Sagittarius, ruled by Jupiter. So we have what's called mutual reception between Jupiter and Mercury. They're in each other's realms. They're on psychic hotline with each other. They now know where everything is in these realms because of that. They're both facilitating each other's journey. So even though this is a Taurus moon, even though it's ruled by Venus, it's actually being governed by this mutual reception of Jupiter and Mercury, which is why having all those swords show up in the collective reading wasn't that surprising, because we're going then back to this idea of an elevation of perspectives and a release of certain perspectives that block the true abundance of the nature of this universe and how we interact with it. Jupiter, wisdom, truth, a deeper knowing. Mercury, the information, how we perceive, how we communicate. They are in alliances with one another, facilitating this release. Now I'm going to touch very lightly, how are we doing for time? We're not doing too bad. Very lightly on the fact that the sun is in Scorpio, which is traditionally ruled by Mars, and Mars is in Leo, which is ruled by the sun. So we have another mutual reception going on. So whereas Jupiter and Mercury are facilitating an elevation of our perspectives and how we engage with information, Mars and the sun are building together a sense of vision that is facilitating heart-orientated actions, right? Mars in Leo. Mars is going to retrograde, by the way, soon in December. And it's at 3 degrees of Leo, and it will retrograde at 6, so it's not that far away from it. The sun over in Scorpio, that kind of intensity, that capacity to reveal the truth from the darkness, that is facilitating opening the heart of Mars in its motivation and drive and action. Now, you have Leo in the 12th. And the 12th is a wonderful house, but difficult, right? It's the unconscious realms. And in those unconscious realms can be trauma responses and limiting beliefs, right? Unconscious responses. We can have anxiety here, depression, a sense of loss and grief and isolation, a sense, because it's the hidden house, it's a sense of being hidden. So, but I do love a Mars in a 12th house transit, because you can really observe what's going on in your unconscious realms by observing your actions with Mars being in Leo, right? And I find it often really help you work with any difficulties that have got going on in the 12th. But underneath all of that is the magic of your soul, which is a cosmic joke of the universe, right? Of putting the core root power of self underneath all those difficult energies. I mean, it is what it is, isn't it? That Mars in the 12th can really help, again, observe your actions to see the truth of the magic of your soul. You can see a real enhancement of this. And with that sun energy, again, they're facilitating each other. So the sun is giving a lot of illumination in your actions and your deeds, and Mars is really helping facilitate bringing the magic of your soul into your day-to-day, into the way that you communicate. I can also see a real heightened connection around downloads and around being able to embody certain aspects, good, bad, good, difficult, challenging, glorious, wonderful, and having a clarity of vision in your day-to-day of what that means to you. I hope that makes sense. So we've got a great deal of vision and clarity that you'll then, I say, okay, you can get downloads with the sun in the third of communication, influencing, okay, what do I want to do in this 12th house? How do I want to take action here? And just having a lot of clarity there. Right, okay, so let's get into the tarot. So this is what's being blocked. What's being released. That may have been blocked, that may have been a bit of a challenge. With the Page of Pentacles in reverse, and we have the Judgment card in reverse. So this is a Pluto card. So this is releasing certain blocks around new perspectives, right? That Page of Pentacles is new ideas, new communications, new information, and also being really excitable, right? Pages have just got into the court. They want to talk to everyone. They want to learn everything. So there may be, I was talking earlier about the stubbornness of Taurus. There may be something that is just simply blocked you being able to engage in something new in a way where you're not... Because you may have engaged in it, but you may have held on to a lot of baggage, a lot of jadedness, a lot of resistance while engaging with it, right? With this page in reverse, of not receiving the new energy of the new information and the new downloads. You may have just felt a bit stuck and a bit stagnant over the last 6 months. Now, this doesn't have to be very loud. It could be happening in the unconscious, which is then getting released in this full moon. But overall, there's this sense of, as I said, with everything going on in the world, of not being able to see beyond that. And coming along with Pluto, with Judgment in reverse as well. Again, the Judgment card is kind of like the ascension process. The dead are rising up and they are being released through a new frequency. And the dead can represent old versions of self as well as the ancestors, of old wounds, of old things that have got entangled and the energies got stuck in your field, right? That you haven't been able to let go of energetically. So there's an element of release here, of that blockage, of stepping into a higher level of judgment, a higher level of understanding and perspective. And that's not me saying you don't have that. It's just the next stage of it. So this is what's being closed out, these blockages. What is being integrated? Okay, you got a lot of major arcana, Virgo. We have the Temperance card and the Wheel of Fortune. So this is saying, along with these blockages, right? You've been in an alchemical process of integrating all the parts of yourself to, you've got two angels showing up, of bringing that angelic frequency into the 3D realm, right? So it's kind of doubling down on what I just said of, like, it's not that you don't have an elevated perspective, it's just there's been a block to take you to the next level, but you've been doing the groundwork to get you there for the release and then the activation. Don't know what those cards are. So this is about doing things differently, trying things differently, because the water's going up into the cup, and alchemizing every part of yourself into, as I say, the angelic frequency on the 3D realm. And then we have the Wheel of Fortune. And so this is being locked in, of like understanding that fate is changing, right? Your understanding of the world and how you map yourself out in it is shifting. This is a Jupiter card into so everything's more on the up. But I always say with the Wheel of Fortune, it has come in the upright. So it is saying that things are shifting, the fates are in your favor, that it's always in a cyclical nature. And the more that we come to peace with that, the less that the turning of the wheel seems overwhelming. So I just bear that in mind of something you might want to set that intention around this full moon, of being open to the changes of fate and always finding the wisdom within it. So what is being activated? Oh, interesting. Okay, they're wanting them in this way. We have the 8 of Cups and the Ace of Swords. So the Eight of Cups is about moving away from unconscious responses, hello Mars, that feel very comfortable but do you no favors, right? This is about going on a very spiritual journey, a vision quest. To go climb that mountain. Virgo, you see, this is the only eclipse card in tarot. The South Node's going to be moving into your sign, Virgo, in January, right? I will be doing a nodal axis series on that, so I thoroughly recommend that as if with strong Virgo energy. South Node can be difficult, but it's wonderful. It truly is an aspect of refinement, of things falling away that do not serve you anymore. So I love that this is a bit of a setup of this. And I forgot to mention in the astrology, Venus is square the nodes, right? So she's square the South Node in Libra, the North Node in Aries. Mars is making harmonious aspects to the nodes. So it is really bringing all of this energy of this full moon into a longer term cycle. And I forgot to mention, I came out of the collective reading and my guides said, yep, you got everything except this one thing. And it's similar theme to what was coming through in the Libra and Aries, the last two lunations, which obviously one of them was an eclipse and the other one was still the North Node. That there's going to be some really big activations in terms of channeling and intuition and working with the unseen realms in perhaps more unconventional ways. For example, I do the movements, I do the vocal light language, and it can be quite isolating in terms of conventional society. You may find that what's happening with this moon, this may not be for everyone, so always take what resonates, leave what doesn't, is that there's going to be stronger activations happening where it's going to lead to situations where you normally would have hidden them or not really communicated them with a more extended radius in your environment, where there's going to be more situations where it is going to happen, but you are being given the strength and the courage and the support and the protection to walk into those spaces. The physical movements that I have, it's nearly 4 years. It happened actually in Taurus season around the Scorpio full moon. And the vocal side happened just before the Sagittarius new moon last year. It all happened, especially the movements, just as I'd stopped masking as intensely as I had done for most of my life. And then this happened, and it's weird, and it's strange, and it's not normal. It's not average. People can think you're working with the devil, right? All of that kind of stuff. And I get all of that. I understand it. I've always been mindful with the way that I've communicated it, of being really honest, of like, I don't really know what this is, but it's happening. It's real. That I've always, because of that, I couldn't go back to masking. I couldn't hide it. I've got a grandmother who's very shine, Jesus shine, clappy, happy Christianity. Both my parents, when I was born, were born again Christians. Like my mum used to speak in tongues, which I actually only found out recently. That there's a lot of barriers to entry that we're working with, and I just wanted to bring it up with this sort of vision quest and feeling that it gets you to a space, even though this is actually Saturn in Pisces, by the way. It can be a challenging journey, but the level of depth and maturity and confidence that you then get the other side of the Eight of Cups, because you're liberating yourself away from unconscious responses that don't serve you anymore, right? You're freeing yourself up, and that's shown with the Ace of Swords as well, of this higher perspective, this divine inspiration that's linked to your sovereignty. So this is what's being activated. So it may be for some of you that there's going to be an upgrade around perspectives that's going to allow your consciousness to receive more downloads. So stuff like that. But it's all going to be very dependent on everybody, and or as I said, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. But as I said, you're going to have the protection to be able to do it. And, that Libra Aries energy, it came through in those readings as well, because Aries, being confident and autonomous, in yourself, but still bringing the truth to society, still being socially connected. Right, how to work with this energy. We have the Four of Wands and the Page of Cups. Four of Wands in the advice pile of how to activate, celebrate everything. Celebrate everything. All the little milestones. Celebrate the fact that you brush your teeth. Celebrate the fact that you're breathing. Right? Because this is all about a milestone. It's often linked in sort of like bigger celebrations, like a level of commitment. Right, a marriage energy, but I link this party into the harvest. Right, all of these figures, they have gone out, they've done the damn thing, and now they've brought the harvest in, and it's meant, you know, putting in the grind and doing it, but they're celebrating and they're about to have a big banquet. And so for me, when this shows up as sort of advice of how to work with this, is celebrate all the things that you do. Celebrate. I always have Celebrate Good Times, the song, run through my head when I see this card. And that's going to really help activate a level of awareness of your path, of your journey, of your courage, of your strengths. And as I said, especially with that ninth house, with everything that's going on in the world, we can feel a bit separate from the joy, from the celebration, because it doesn't seem like there's much to celebrate. But this is calling you, no, try and really focus on that. And this can often be if like certain goals aren't being met, and then we focus on the fact that they're not being met in the time frame that we'd like them to be. We're very impatient. The amount of downloads I get, the messages that I get from my guides or whoever it is that I'm channeling, they often say, well, we could do this thing and it would speed up the process, but it's not going to serve you. And the outcome, if you just let it roll, is going to be way more good. No, that's terrible English, but you get what I'm saying. We're so impatient. So there's this element of, rather than falling into impatience of celebrating every little thing in a really glorious way, right? It's not about not being real with yourself where you need to do some more work or refine something elsewhere. It's genuinely, like, as I said, genuinely celebrate the fact that you got up and brushed your teeth, and that's brilliant. Celebrate the fact that you've got a roof over your head. I know those things sound really basic, but it's that sense of gratitude as well. But this is a bit more different to gratitude. This is about celebrating the fact that you've got up and you've done the thing, whatever that thing looks like. And then the Page of Cups. This is accessing more magic. This person is talking to a fish in a cup. I love how we actually got the Page of Pentacles, Earth, Taurus, in reverse at the beginning, and then the Page of Cups, Scorpio, water, in the upright, even though this is a Pisces card. This page is full of love, of excitability, of imagination, of curiosity, of creativity. It's in alignment with its emotional flow. It wants to communicate through love, communicate with magic. And so this is really one, allow yourself to open up to the synchronicities and elevate your connection with Source in terms of perspective and the magical reality that you exist in, as well as just, it's kind of doubling down on what I was saying, of finding more of that joy resonance, in the way that you're perceiving and engaging with the world. Now, before I pulled the cards for Uranus and Saturn, this was at the bottom of the deck, and we've got the High Priestess. And this is really doubling down on this vision quest of releasing blockages that have stopped you knowing you are this, basically, and the joy coming in, because she knows she's drawing towards her that which is bringing abundance and fertility. And she is just undulating that energy out into her field. And then the reality around her is shifting and changing to match that knowing. And she's got the material and the unseen realms embodied in these two pillars, and she's working with both of them. She knows what's going on in the unconscious realms. The subconscious is influencing the material world, and she is in balance. Ooh, yes, get in. And let me do these first. So what's Uranus up to? Similar energy. So the Knight of Cups takes what the Page of Cups has learned and communicated and is now embodying it. This is the true romantic, moving through life in a state of flow, a state of love, a state of abundance, of imagination, of curiosity. So Uranus, what's the main theme of Uranus is getting you in your power. We've got the King of Wands there as well. Your instincts being in alignment with your perspectives that are coming from a place of love and your ability to embody that in the 3D realm. Right? We've got Leo over in, we've got Mars over in Leo, right? So this is a strengthening of your unconscious realms, 8 of Cups. Bringing the magic of your soul out, that Leo energy, in its full form, right? In a really mature, sovereign way. Love that. Okay, what is Saturn up to? Oh, hey. 3 of Cups, 3 of Pentacles. This is great for the 7th house of collaboration, of one-on-one relationships, of feeling more joyous, more flow, feeling more celebrated, celebrating others, collaboration and mastery with the 3 of Pentacles, being yourself truly and drawing towards you others who have other skills in order to build something beautiful and long-lasting. This can be with Source. This can be just a truer understanding of yourself in regards to the other, where you're finding more flow and more ease and more collaboration come in. This could very much be about healthier romantic relationships. But overall, those are great cards for quite an intense Saturn transit. And what was at the bottom of the deck after those, which is going with these lot, is the Ace of Cups, right? So this is, you've got a lot of cup energy, of overflow, of love, the dove of peace, this sense of abundance, this sense of love, of imagination, of creativity, of emotional wellness. Now, your oracle cards, got no idea. Oh, First Breath, Beginner's Mind. Where are the books? This is from the Shaman's Dream Oracle. It's been consistently one of my favourite decks at the moment. All the decks in the description box, by the way, if any take your fancy. A fresh start and renewed curiosity. Natural trust, beginner's mind. When the First Breath card shows up for you, it's time to leave the old stories and tales behind. Hello, 8 of Cups, leaving them behind. You have arrived. Take a deep breath and another. There is nothing else you need to do but take in the new world that is revealing itself around you. Trust your natural curiosity. There is no need to dwell on how difficult the journey has been or how tight the passage to get where you are now. Just take it all in and experience the awe and wonder of your arrival at this destination. Even if it is a familiar place you have come to many times before, try to experience it as if for the first time, for you are renewed and the old you is no longer your concern. Practice the beginner's mind, not labeling or naming what you see and experience. That situation that was so difficult only a few days ago, just be with it and breathe. You have already gone beyond it, have overcome and resolved it, even if no one else realizes this yet. Soon enough they will as you move on. Do not squander the power of first breath, giving the old narrative mouth-to-mouth resuscitation. Use it for new beginnings, to animate a world you can play and create in. Do not underestimate the power of your breath and the magic of the word. Ooh, hoo, hoo, hoo. Love how it brought play and create with all Venus, Pluto and Ceres over in the 5th house. Right, I'm going to read the bottom of the deck. We have Benefactor, grace and generosity. I often associate this card with Jupiter. I didn't really touch on where Gemini and Sagittarius are for you, Virgo. I mean, I'm sure you know, they're both mutable signs. Jupiter, where Gemini is, Jupiter in Gemini is in the 10th house of your career, your life purpose, your visibility, your reputation, and Mercury is in the 4th of your roots and your foundations, your ancestors, both blood, soul lineage, a roof over your head, parental figures, private life. So a lot of downloads at home. right, over the next 6 months around your perspectives. Also a lot of expansion and wisdom and understanding of your perspectives that's allowing for more energy flow in ita, where Jupiter is, itia in your 10th, itania, grace and generosity, gifts, support, and mentoring. When the benefactor weaves her energy into your life, you'll put on notice that all manner of positive reinforcement is coming your way. The universe wants to let you know that just as you've been generous with others, serving with your gifts, even in the smallest capacity, so will you be rewarded in a myriad of ways. The most beautiful gift of the benefactor gives you is the recognition that you are stewarding and sharing abundance on behalf of a higher source, one that is always working through you. The motives for her generosity to you, as well as yours to others, are intangible, although you will see the results reflected in the material world. The benefactor reminds you that it's in the purity of your desire to share without the need for reciprocity that paradoxically your initial generosity is reciprocated tenfold, seemingly without any connection to the original act. Dream, sharing and caring into being, and you will be amazed to see this vibrant seed take root and spread. Do it just because, and the benefactor will give you her blessing. Right, next up we have from Rainbow Brainskull. Oh, this is perfect. I just read it. This is perfect for a 9th house transit of like surrender, the fears, the worries, the anxiety of how it all works. Who cares if we become nothing? We were all once nothing. You are currently borrowing atoms from the earth, and it didn't cost a thing. This life is all betting with house money. Try not to take it all so seriously. I love that, right? You're betting with house money, so there isn't scarcity. You are existing from a place of abundance. And again, releasing that sense of the fear, the worry, the anxiety. That the 9th house can often have at the moment. Okay, next up we have from the bottom of the deck. Let every cat out of every bag. Keeping everything in is painful. Let the truth out and it will work wonders for you. Be kind, but be honest. I like this with the Scorpio energy, right? And I feel like it's connected here because even though I'm saying stepping into an abundant space, an abundant, curious, open mindset, it's not denying the reality of some of your feelings, your emotions, your perspectives, and they're probably very justified when we look at the density of the matrices that we are partially engaged in. And part of the process of the integration of that energy into a more integrated, expansive perspective in terms of our consciousness is by honoring those experiences, not hiding from them, not shaming from them. It's allowing the emotional responses to come through you. And as I said, honoring that, but not letting it dwell, not letting it really fester and then cloud the other multifaceted perspectives and realities that we also live in. Well, Virgo, I certainly enjoyed that reading. That was a lot of fun. I hope this resonated. If it did, don't forget to hit that like button. If you want a personal reading, perhaps to go a little deeper on this or the upcoming nodal shift into your sign, Virgo, my details are absolutely everywhere. Be good to yourself, Virgo. Be good to those around you. Safe travels and be well. Until we meet again. Ooh, still getting used to this new setup. Sorry, Virgo. Oh, I feel like that's a sudden shift in perspective. Reorientation, guys. Good luck out there.